Imagine yourself in a sweltering cantina in Mexico, and in walks your future señor or señorita. You can greet them with a friendly hola, but then what? What you say next is crucial to avoid awkward silences. Today we're counting down the top 5 conversation starters to use in español. And as a bonus, we'll also cover how you can respond if someone approaches you. By the end of this video, you'll definitely know how to keep the conversation going. In Spanish, the way you ask, "How are you?" changes depending on who you're talking to. So if you run into your grandmother in that sweltering cantina, and I don't know why she's there, okay? That's her business. But if you do, you definitely can't ask her, "How are you?" in the same way you ask that potential love interest. If you're familiar with tú and usted, then you already know the basic concept of adjusting your speech to fit casual or formal situations. That's a great concept to start with when getting ready to address people directly, and it's a skill we'll be using heavily in this lesson. So if you need a quick refresher, check out our video on when to use tú and usted. All right, let's get into it. Number 5, ¿Cómo estás? You've probably already heard it. It's likely the most famous Spanish greeting that people are familiar with. It translates directly to, "How are you?" It's used a lot, and it's the most basic and neutral option on our list. Of course, the ¿Cómo estás form would be used if you're speaking directly with a friend. If you were speaking to a group, then you'd conjugate it as ¿Cómo están? And if you were asking about a third person who isn't present, you would use ¿Cómo está? Let's take a look at an example conversation that might take place between two friends, Ernesto and Verónica. Ernesto might say, ¿Cómo está tu familia, Verónica? How is your family, Verónica? To which Verónica may respond, Mi familia está bien, gracias. ¿Y la tuya? My family is doing well, thanks. And yours? ¿Cómo estás is pretty well known, and it won't really dazzle anyone, but the next conversation starter on our list is a bit more unique. Number 4, ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal is an informal greeting that basically means, "What's up?" You would most likely use this with neighbors or acquaintances that you bump into. What's interesting with ¿Qué tal? Is that, just like with what's up in English, this question doesn't actually expect an answer all the time. Let's see a quick example conversation. One friend greets, "Hola Raúl, ¿qué tal?" "Hey Raúl, what's up?" To which Raúl may reply, "Todo bien, Pedro." "Everything is okay, Pedro." And just like that, the two buddies have quickly checked in with each other and are ready to go on about their day. If you're enjoying this lesson so far and want to see more helpful Spanish content just like this, make sure you subscribe to the BaseLang YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming lessons. Number 3, ¿Cómo has estado? Taking a look at this phrase, you might recognize the word estado, which means state in Spanish. If so, you can probably guess that this phrase is asking what someone's state of being is. ¿Cómo has estado directly translates to, "How have you been?" It's really common to see this phrase used between two people who haven't caught up or seen one another in a long time. So if you see an old friend out on the town, you might say to them, "Ha pasado tanto tiempo desde nuestra última reunión. ¿Cómo has estado?" It's been a while since our last reunion. How have you been? Then, to give you a quick update, your pal might say, "Pues últimamente he estado muy ocupada." Well, I've been really busy lately. What's great about this greeting is that it is considerate, and it could be used in both formal and informal contexts. Number 2, ¿Cómo va todo? ¿Cómo van las cosas? Our next phrase, or should I say phrases, are ¿Cómo va todo? And ¿Cómo van las cosas? These two phrases are very similar to the previous one we just looked at. ¿Cómo va todo? And ¿Cómo van las cosas? Are both ways to ask someone how things are going. This can be related to their family, their job, or just their life in general. Here's a sample conversation you might overhear. Patricia says, "Hola David, ¿cómo van las cosas?" "Hi David, how are things going?" Her friend replies, "Todo va bien, Patricia. Conseguí un nuevo trabajo en una zapatería." "Everything is going well, Patricia. I got a new job in the shoe store." But wait a second, you say. What about the love interest at the bar in the sweltering cantina? Well, get ready for the most casual and cool conversation starter. Number 1, ¿Qué me cuentas? ¿Qué me cuentas? Is an interesting one. Whereas our previous translations have been pretty straightforward, the literal translation of this one is actually, what do you tell me? Now, obviously, this doesn't quite sound right in English, but the actual English equivalent you should keep in mind for this phrase is, what's new? This phrase is very casual and colloquial. In fact, it's considered more like slang, so definitely not one you should be throwing out at any formal dinner parties. Now, if someone asks you, ¿Qué me cuentas?, then you can respond with, nada nuevo, nothing new, or nada en especial, nothing special. Or you can also say lo normal, the usual. Or you might say no mucho, not much. So now let's look at an example conversation. Vanessa says, Hola Rafael, no nos hemos visto en 10 años. ¿Qué me cuentas? Hi Rafael, we haven't seen each other for 10 years. What's new with you? Rafael then replies, No mucho. Sigo viviendo en el mismo lugar y trabajando en la misma oficina. Not much. I still live in the same place and work in the same office. Now it's time for our bonus round. Okay, we've covered a few responses already, but now we want to dive a little deeper into what you can say when these how are you questions are addressed to you. So let's learn some responses. Practice these and you'll never be at a loss for words. A few popular responses are, Estoy bien, gracias. I am fine, thanks. Todo bien, everything is good. And bien hasta ahora. Por ahora todo bien. So far, so good. Now don't forget, you can always add y tú to the end of any of these replies to ask the other person how they are as well. We've got a ton more great replies that you can use to tell someone how you are. They're all in the full guide we've linked in the description below. Asking people how they are doing is your first big step into deepening conversations past the hola stage. For more practice with these greetings, make sure you read the full article linked in the description below. If you want to master your conversational skills or need help with Spanish grammar, why not schedule your first class with a BaseLang teacher today? At BaseLang.com, you get access to unlimited one-on-one Spanish classes with native speaking teachers all via Zoom. Try your first week for only $1. When you're telling someone how you've been doing lately, you might want to express some key emotions that you're feeling. To expand your vocabulary and communicate your emotions with ease, check out our lessons on words to talk about emotions in Spanish. Coming up next. Gracias for watching. We'll see you in the next lesson.